Welcome back guys to another timeless episode of the Factorio Let's Play. So if you're interested in what you're currently looking at right here and what we are doing, just watch the last timelapse episode and there you will see everything you have to know. Just also like my conclusion from last video where I talked also a bit about when I will update to 017, and I wasn't quite sure at the beginning of the video, but now I'm sure, and I was already sure at the end of that video. So next episode, which will come hopefully out tomorrow, will be the first episode in 017. I'm quite hyped about that, as you can hopefully imagine, and I hope you're hyped too. Alright. So, with that all out of the way, let's talk a bit about hardware, PC setup upgrades that I have planned, which I'm actually also quite hyped about. When I originally wrote that topic down, I had this a little bit differently in mind, or I actually knew about that dream monitor I want to get, but back then this was just like an announcement with a release date of 2019, which you know isn't quite specific, but now we already know a few more specifics, and I know that this monitor will release in May this year. So May is kind of the middle almost of 2019, and it's still like 2 months away. But yeah, that only helps to build up the hype, I guess. So for that you have to know, just to give you guys some context here, just in case you didn't know, I own like an Acer Predator gaming monitor, like it's a 1440p 144Hz model. It's really nice, like I really enjoy the resolution, and I also really enjoy like the high refresh rate component of this thing. So yeah, overall it's a pretty decent monitor, and as like a secondary monitor I just have like a cheap old Samsung Full HD monitor. And I also quite like that it is a dual screen setup that I use, because that gives me the option to well play a game on my main screen and see like the OBS recording on a second screen, or like Discord, or like a YouTube video I'm watching. Also during like productive work, I guess, like editing video and stuff like that, I can have like the editing program I'm currently working in like on the main screen, have some folders open on the second one or whatever. So yeah, that's quite nice to have like a dual screen setup like that. At my workplace, I mean I work in IT, and there I have an even crazier setup with 3 monitors, which is even cooler, and those are now also 3 1440p monitors, which just gives you like tons of screen space, which yeah, well, you kind of need. So one screen for the email program, one screen for the ticket system, and main screen for like doing the actual work. And yeah, well, 3 screens still not really enough there, but here at home I am happy with 2. And so now maybe you already know what monitor I was talking about. If you're not, then it is the Samsung CRG9, I think it's called. So the model name doesn't really say a whole lot, but it's basically the second version of a monitor that we've seen last year, and it was like this crazy 32:9 aspect ratio monitor. The only drawback of that thing for me was that it only had essentially like a full HD resolution, so it was basically like 2 normal full HD screens side by side. And if you ever used any monitor that is higher res than full HD, then you certainly do not want to get back. I mean, maybe for gaming or whatever, that's not a big deal, but for like productivity work, I really enjoy like the 1440p resolution. because the advantage this resolution gives you over Full HD isn't just like that everything looks a bit sharper, but that everything is like smaller, so you have like more pixels to work with. And because in Windows at least, window size is measured in like pixels, and everything is measured in pixels, means that when you have more pixels to work with, that you also have like just more screen space. And that's something that I realize like every day basically here when I like drag a window from my main monitor over to my secondary monitor. And yeah, like on my main monitor, like the window, like the audition window that I currently record this voiceover in, this is like fitting comfortably in the middle of the screen. I have like still some stuff around that. And then I can drag this over onto my second screen, and there it pretty much fills out the entire screen. So yeah, if you have like a 1440p and a Full HD monitor right next to each other, then you can really see like the effect and really see like how much more physical like screen space you get from the higher resolution. And so the great thing about ultra-wide monitors in general is also that you get like more resolution or more size basically in a wider aspect ratio. So the advantage of that really is in editing, I think. So in editing, you have your timeline. And while you can juggle stuff around multiple monitors, your timeline usually just is on like one monitor. And if that monitor is wider, then your timeline can be wider. So you can see more of your timeline at once, which I guess would be quite nice. Yeah, so why don't I just buy like a normal 21:9 monitor then? Well, the answer to that is actually quite simple, I think. There's just no 21:9 monitor currently that I'm aware of, at least, which fits kind of my specs I'm looking for. So I'm looking for like a resolution that's like 1440p, just like then obviously wider, and a high refresh rate of 120 or more hertz. I mean, there are some 21:9 1440p monitors with 100 hertz, I think, but nothing really more than that, and that quite sucks. Yeah, so the 32:9 monitor from Samsung then would be kind of like the first one that meets all of those criteria, I think. Also, it's like an HDR monitor, like quantum dot, HDR10 certified, whatever. Yeah, so that would be also an upgrade in like the visual quality of the display panel. Yeah, and the 32:9 aspect ratio means that you like have essentially a dual screen setup in one monitor. So from that, I hope that I can have still like the game window and like windowed mode or whatever then in the middle in 16:9, and then OBS on one side and something else on the other or whatever. And I think that could work out also quite nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep my current monitor, like my current like main monitor. I would be probably able to sell that to a coworker of mine who already expressed interest. Or I can somehow maybe incorporate that into my display setup. Maybe like as a vertical monitor, or maybe as like a monitor mounted above the other one or whatever. But we'll have to see about that. Yeah. And so why should you get an ultra-wide monitor maybe over like a dual screen setup? I mean, you don't just get like the wide timeline advantage, but just for gaming as well, it's like a big difference, because I can't possibly game on my two monitors here together, right? And with a 32:9 monitor, you can just see more of the game at once, so it's like a dual monitor setup if you want, but you get the added benefit of just using it as like one ultra-wide monitor. Yeah, well, makes kind of sense, you know. And I already looked at some gameplay footage in 32:9, and I mean, from what I've gathered, it's kind of hit or miss, I guess. So some games work out really nice. Like Rocket League looks awesome, and I also play that quite a lot. And Euro Truck Simulator is also really cool. So because in Euro Truck Simulator, for example, what you see in like my videos, my channel update videos on the main channel, where I have like the Euro Truck Simulator time lapse in there, is that I have like for the right mirror, I have the like a virtual mirror that's always like there and I don't use like the one in game, basically, if that makes any sense. And that's because you can't see like your right mirror without turning like your view on a 16:9 monitor. But on a 32:9 monitor, you can now essentially also look out of like both your windows on both sides, which is quite cool. So it just gives you like a lot more immersion. Factorio, I heard, isn't really the best experience per default, because Factorio uses the vertical resolution to determine like the zoom level. So you don't see like twice as much. You essentially have still the same width of the image, but only half the height. So that quite sucks. But yeah, you can use like console commands to zoom further out or whatever. So yeah, there would be workarounds for that. Maybe there's also like a mod that fixes that. Yeah. But I mean, Factorio, I pretty much only play Factorio when I'm recording it, and when I'm recording a game, then I'm still having to play this on like 16:9. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm honestly quite hyped about that monitor. The only little issue would be that it's like twice as many pixels, which, I mean, is kind of the advantage of the monitor in a way. But that also means that the GPU has to suddenly drive twice as many pixels. So in theory, at least, that would mean half the frame rate. But I just very, very recently updated my GPU to an RTX 2080 Ti, which is a beast of a GPU. And it's also actually speeding up video renders as well. So that's at least one thing that I can currently fully utilize. I mean, with Factorio itself, this GPU is now more idling than before. I mean, I guess at least it's in like 0 RPM fan mode with Factorio all the time. So that's at least something, I guess. Yeah, other than that, I just have to say that I'm quite excited about like those ultra-wide monitors in general. And I think that they make a lot of sense for many people out there, for many gamers at least. Like LG, I think, is also releasing one of the 32:9 flavor, but only with like 60 Hz. And as the spoiled kid I am with now 144 Hz, I just don't want to go back. Yeah, I think with that we are done here for today as well. Yeah, I guess so. So all I have to say at this point is thank you for watching, guys. See you on the next episode in 017 then. And I'll then have a great time. See you all then. Bye bye.